wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God. Lauren LaRose is here. Jess Hilarious is here. Who's filling in for Envy? Lauren LaRose is filling in for Envy.
Absolutely.
Is Envy filling in? He's here.
I'm here. But she's filling in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a guest today, though, because his new book, Real Life, Real Family, with the queen of the house, Gia Casey, is out right now. Well, comes out April 15th.
Comes out April 15th, yeah.
Yes. How you feeling, Gia?
Humbled by being given the opportunity to write a book about something that is the most important thing to me, the thing I'm the most passionate about, the thing that brings me the most joy, family, parenting, my household, our home. So, yes, I'm very humbled.
This is the second book. Yes, it's amazing. You know what? Let's just rewind it back. For those who don't know, who is the Casey crew? Where did that name come from? How did y'all get started?
Do you remember?
The Casey crew? Yeah, it's our last name. What do you mean?
No. But do you remember how we came up with the name?
No, how do we come up with the name?
We were doing our first podcast, and it was before we were doing like the audio version, the video version. It was just the audio version. And we started the podcast without a name. And we sat there and we kind of was coming up with like different names. And one of us said, well, how about the Casey crew? You know, our last name is Casey. We have a whole crew of kids, a whole gaggle.
Yes.
What about the Casey crew? And then people, you know, DM'd us and emailed and whatnot. And they said, yeah, we love that name. We love that name. So we decided to call ourselves the Casey crew.
Amazing.
That's where it came about.
Okay.
And Gia, whenever you post on social, you always hashtag the Casey crew.
Yes.
Envy does as well. But one of the things that you guys do really good from the podcast to bringing it online is you pay attention to the comments and the responses.
Gia does.
Gia, yeah. And you guys bring them into the podcast, but you also like reflect on them on social media. So I want to read one of the posts that we pulled, and I thought that this was great. You inspire me. This is someone commenting to you guys. You inspire me. I wish all parents had this level of intention, planning, and vibe. Truth is, most parents, moms, are stressed, overworked by trying to make ends meet and harboring trauma. Therefore, it's passed down to the children. You've passed down light and love because of that and because of what you are. High five to all of the parents doing their best. And you use that as a moment to talk about like, no, it get a little crazy over here. But but it's important because if you ever been around your family, it is a lot of love and a lot of light. But I'm sure on the inside, things get crazy.
Well, you know, that's a big misconception. People assume that because you live a certain lifestyle or because you've earned a certain financial status, that you don't have the same problems that they have. You know, in the same comment section, you'll see people like, oh, it's easy when you have money. Oh, you know, like your problems are not our problems. But that is such a misconception. You know, we just got over one of the toughest years of our lives, probably the worst year of our life. And
2 years.
The last 2 years have been, and that's a conversation for another day, but we've gone through a lot of trauma, a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartache, a lot of sadness, and things that we had to shield our children from. Things that we had to figure out how to keep that brave face and how to not let it affect our family foundation, you know, because that trickle-down effect is so real. Your kids know when you're not happy. They know when you're stressed. They know when you're struggling. They know when you're upset with one another, and they receive that energy and they project that energy. And that's something that is universal because there's not a single family out there that doesn't have trials, tribulations, heartache, setbacks, financial stresses. I don't care who you are, you have experienced that. So financial abundance, financial security, even for people that have that in and of itself doesn't mean that you're happy. Some of the most miserable people that I know do very, very well.
That's right.
It doesn't mean that you come along with the skill set to know how to live a happy life and how to teach your children how to have a happy life. So that comment really, really stood out to me because she spoke on the troubles and the trauma and the word trauma that she used. And Rashawn will speak on the word trauma. Sometimes he feels as though it's a word that's overused, but it's a word that represents something that so many people endure. The difference now is that we have words to identify how we feel and what we go through, and it's articulated. because when our feelings and our experiences are articulated, then you're able to communicate.
Yeah.
People are able to understand you. You're able to understand other people. You're able to have empathy and compassion for other people because now we're all speaking a universal language, like the word triggered, like the word trauma, like the word
Gaslit.
You know, these are things that some may think are overused now,
The
but
TikTok words.
yes, but there is value there.
Yeah.
There is value there because now we can see each other. We understand each other.
When you're trying to create a safe space, you know, how is it to venture into an unsafe space like the comments? Especially with somebody that's on the air every day. You know what I mean? People have an opinion about envy every day.
So I read every single comment.
Every
Damn.
comment,
Why you
every
doing that to
She be
yourself?
YouTube comment.
interacting a lot. You
I
interact a lot.
interact.
Yeah.
It started when I had a lower follower count. It started because I always felt that if someone follows me, that's an investment, a small investment maybe, but it's an investment that they put into me. And they're looking at my content, they're looking at my pictures, and you left a comment, I want to respond back to you. I used to respond to almost every comment, you know, but then when my followers went up, I wasn't really able to do that. And that was something that, you know, I had to take that on the chin. I wasn't able to, but it's a sign of respect. And you said, why do I do that to myself?
Yeah.
Because I'm strong enough to do that.
That's right.
I'm strong enough to do that. The comments don't, if they are negative, and I have to say I don't receive a lot of negative comments, thankfully, thank God. But if they are negative, I look at it as insight. I might ask myself, why might someone have that perspective? Why may you have drawn that conclusion? To me, it feeds my mental because I'm a thinker. I'm a deep thinker. I mull over things. I love to understand people. I love the concepts that kind of create society. I love to understand cause and effect relationships and things of that nature. So for me, the comments are food. And they also bring me happiness when they're good.
Yeah.
It lets you know that you're reaching someone, you're whatever it is that you're putting out. Because it's in the sense of sharing. There's a lot of things that I don't share. You know what I mean? So if I choose to share and it's well received, then that's a good feeling. I think that's why a lot of people are on, or part of the reason why a lot of people are on social media. You know what I mean? And I'm strong enough to do so, and that's because of the way that I was raised.
Yeah.
I was raised to be a very strong and resilient woman. It comes directly from my parents. And I'm fortunate in the sense that I can look back and identify things about the way that I was raised that created the individual, the woman, the mother, the wife that I am. And for me, it's a very beautiful thing. Both of my parents are no longer here. So to be able to say, wow, when my mother did this every single day, or when she took me here once a week, or when she said this to me and those compliments, and that the way that she fed me and she fed my soul and the joy that I experienced and the amount of fun that I had as a kid. Like, I loved my life. And it's not because we were wealthy. We were not. We're a middle class family. I'm from Brooklyn, I'm from East Flatbush. We weren't raised, you know, like I'm from an urban area. And it had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with wealth. It had everything to do with what my parents poured into my home and the love that I felt. And that is what we put into writing this book. There's a lot of books that we could have written. You know, so many ideas came out because Real Life, Real Love was a huge success. It was a national bestseller. So it's like, oh, you can write a book about this. We said we want to write a book about family. It's what we know best. It's what we know best. We've had so many ups, so many downs, so many wins, so many losses, so many things that we thought we were doing right that we weren't, that we had to regroup and make sure that we were balanced, you know, as a married couple, because when we didn't agree, it's like, my way is better. No, what my way is better. And this, you know, we had to come to a meeting of the minds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So our relationship, you know, the relationship grew, you know, because we had to learn how to see eye to eye as parents. So there was many, many ups and downs, and we wanted to pour that all into a book. You know, we wanted to let everyone know, like, it's really that village mentality. It's really that, like, we are a community, especially our Black community, because
I'm Black.
Yes, yeah. For the record,
is black.
Thank you for the
he is 100% black.
Source sitting very close to
He doesn't have an ounce of Spanish blood.
Source next to Envy says he's black. I told you.
But it's like I know that you're well aware because you speak to things of this nature often, but our history is being erased in schools, and it's being stripped away silently in society. So the foundation starts in our homes.
Yeah.
We have to teach children how to identify themselves. We have to teach children that sense of belonging. And they have to understand that they come from something meaningful. And if you leave it up to society to teach them that, you're going to wind up with children that are lost, that are overlooked, that don't know how to identify themselves, that get taken advantage of, and that are susceptible to what society wants for them. So for us, our core, our nucleus, our foundation, our home supersedes anything else in this world. We put our family first.
Yeah. Would you say that you and Envy have two different parenting styles? Like,
Absolutely.
Who's the more lenient parent? Who's the more lenient parent?
It depends what it is.
Okay.
Like, everybody knows my dad is retired police officer and ex-military, so I'm disciplined. I was the yeller, the screamer because I said so.
Yeah.
Gia's a lot different. Like, 'cause she
Sure.
wants to know why.
Yeah.
Why did you feel that
And
way?
I can tell she likes to break down shit.
What?
Yes.
If you don't get it, you're going to get it by the end of
Right,
the
Yes.
day.
You better not trip up on them words.
Right, exactly. So you got to really think before you speak to her, because she's like, all right, well, explain that. Like, I just said it just because. No, Nick, explain this. But so I'm more like, because I said so. She's more like, well, you can't go to the mall because of this. Because this could happen. Well, explain your parenting style. Mine is my dad was like, no, and you didn't ask why. It
Yeah,
just
you
what
don't
it,
ask
was
why.
what it was. You just figured it out later. Gia's a little different.
I prefer the explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how my parents were with me. I knew that my parents were invested in me living a happy, fulfilled, and fun life. And we didn't go lightly on the fun. And because I knew that, and my parents never said no just for the sake of saying no. Because parents are overworked and they are stressed. And the last thing they want to hear when they walk through the door is, Mommy, can you take me here? Can you buy me this? Can we watch this together? Can we go? Like, slow down. No. And sometimes you say no, you don't even know why you're saying no. That's not a good parenting technique.
Yeah.
You really have to take a moment. You have to take a beat. We all have to take a beat to listen to our children and be patient. And because I knew that my parents were invested in me that way, I knew that when they said no, there was a good reason, because they would never slight me. They would never tell me no because they were too tired. They would never tell me no just because they didn't want to be bothered. So it's like, oh, well, if mommy said no, that means that I'm not supposed to be there. Or that means that she genuinely can't take me. And they both would take the time to explain to me.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't want to go to that party in Coney Island because in that neighborhood, there's a lot of shooting and and you're a young girl. And I'll take it a step further. You know what my parents used to do from time to time? They would take me to a party, not the one in Coney Island, but a party, and they would park and wait outside for me for 2 or 3 hours. Until I came out. And this was before cell phones and all that stuff. My dad had this little portable TV, and he would recline his seat, set the portable TV up on the dashboard, and just watch TV until, or whatever it was that he was watching, until I came out. That let me know that my parents rooted for me. They wanted me to enjoy life. So when they told me no, I knew that I had no business considering whatever it was that I was considering.
Take a step forward. The other day, London, which is our 11-year-old, wanted to walk to her friend's house after school. Her friend's house was a block away.
2 blocks. It was 2 blocks.
Gia drives in a car looking like a stalker and follows them the 2 blocks as they're walking.
I don't see a problem with it.
What's wrong with that?
But London knew. London was like, that's my mom following us, so don't worry. But she just wanted to walk, and Gia followed her ass right to that house.
Well, the thing is that, she's 11, so she wants all of her friends, like, all of them, they walk home from school because they all live in the same neighborhood, and they all walk home. But London is not allowed to walk home.
Hell no.
Absolutely, positively not. And there's there's this very significant reason for it, well, at least a partial reason. And I said, all right, babe, you can walk, but I'm going to follow you those 2 blocks. She was like, okay, mommy, no problem. Meanwhile, you have other kids that might be like, oh, why? Can't you trust me? I'm 11. I'm not stupid. Other kids will rebel. Our kids are so conditioned to understanding that it's for their safety and they welcome it, especially like our oldest, Madison. Madison, when she went to college, she was like, can you chip me?
Like
Put
a chip
put a chip in her arm because
it's trauma.
I never heard of that.
Gia was almost kidnapped as a kid. They tried to grab her when she was walking the dog.
Yeah,
we know the story of Gia's face being cut. So we are very extra when it comes to our kids. And then Charlamagne and you guys know things that has happened behind the scenes, but we're very careful when it comes to the kids.
Yeah, when I was 9, a man tried to abduct me, and it was awful.
She was walking the dog,
I was
kicked
walking
her little dog and all that.
He choked me out. Like he had a change of clothes hidden. He was caught.
Yeah.
But that's that. Yeah, that story is in the book. But so I come from a place where I understand that the worst can happen to you. Because we go through life idly, like, oh no, that happens to other people. Other people go through things like that. I've been through so much that I understand that the worst can happen to you.
Right.
So I protect my kids with vigilance because of that personal knowledge that I have of it.
How do you make sure you're raising the kids out of love and not fear, though?
That's such a good question. It comes with the explanations. Do you know what I mean? I don't tell them you can't do this and you can't do that. Why? Because I said so. Let me explain to you why. Sometimes we'll watch the news together, when they're at an appropriate age, at about 9 years old. I think that they're mature enough to ingest certain things. So what I do is I would record it on my DVR and then cherry pick different stories that I think that are appropriate, that speak to the protective measures that we take on them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like if I see a child abduction that's not too traumatic, I might save that and then show it to a child that's old enough. I did it with Madison, I did it with Logan, and I find that they take that into their adult lives and they're very, very Madison. Like Madison walks around like a police officer. She has a boyfriend, his name is Andrew. And when they go into a restaurant, she's the one that sits facing the door. She feels like the protective force in that relationship because her head is always on swivel. You know what I mean? She could tell you a car that was driving 6 cars ahead, and she's always paying attention to license plates. When she was young, I used to go through like, in case you get kidnapped scenarios, because it's the type of information that can save a child's life.
ID all day long.
I do.
I do.
She'd be like, count the stoplights. They'd be like,
she went
knock
through a
on the
personal
thing,
experience.
drop pieces of rice on the floor.
When you
she
go
goes
through
through the whole
personal
thing.
experience,
It's the type of information that can save a life, especially now with all of this human trafficking and all the stories with, they put like a zip tag on your
very creative.
on your door, and they put $1 or money near your. There's all these techniques. Girls are being taken. Yeah. So if you have a young girl, it is very proactive to educate them about the realities and the tricks and the cons that people, because even me, as proactive as I try to be, that whole technique with a baby crying outside your house, I would be inclined to open the door. If I hear a baby crying and someone that sounds like a mother yelling and screaming outside the house, I am that type of person. But
not me.
But now I am.
Like
and
something wrong.
But now,
call police. What's the emergency?
I would be inclined to open that door. But now with all the knowledge and some of the good things about social media is that so much knowledge is being spread. So now we're consuming good information as well. So I heard that. I'm like, wow, that's absolutely right. It jogs your thinking. It makes you say, oh, wait a minute. I do have to put myself first. Even if someone else, a stranger, seems to be in need, I have to prioritize myself, my home, my family. So it's important to spread information and to teach your kids, even though it may be a little scary. But you do have to do it in a way where it doesn't incite fear.
Yeah.
How do y'all go ahead?
No, you go ahead.
How y'all pick and choose what y'all decide to be transparent about? Because there's so much. Like, you have stuff that you have to protect them from just because they're going to school and people know you. But then you also have stuff that's just happening in the world that they could encounter with their friends. Like, it's just so much. And your kids are getting older and they're like, they're wanting to walk by themselves with their friends. How do you know?
If it was up to me, I'm transparent with everything, right? Gia has to hold back a lot. And the reason I think I'm
What do you mean?
Well, the reason I'm so transparent, I'll explain. But the reason I'm so transparent is
nervous
because
just now. Like, you hear that? What you mean?
I want you to answer her what you mean first.
I'm like, answer me first.
I feel like we should answer Gia first.
nah, but like, so some things Gia, like for instance, like with Logan, right? Logan, when he was in high school, used to get picked on all the time, right? But he used to get picked on, guess for what reason?
Being light skinned?
No, because Charlamagne and
Dad
him is
is gay.
Yes. So
Stop being gay. I tell you all the time.
no,
Stop
when
that.
you gave me the ass, that's why. Pause.
What? Wow. Hey, yo.
Not thinking that he get thick.
He gave me the butt cake. When he gave me the butt
That's
cake,
not much better.
you know what I mean.
The butt shaped cake he gave you.
When he gave me
No, we are not about to hate Bob, but it's just short. Don't do that.
he used to be getting made fun of because of that. So, but the reason I'm so transparent is there's so many families and people dealing with the same things but never want to talk about it.
Right.
Scared to. So that's why I talked about the orgasm thing in the first book. That's why in the second book we talk about the time
What was
Madison.
the orgasm thing from the first
Shut
book?
up,
For those who
no.
didn't- for those who didn't read the first book.
No, we're not doing that. Every interview you do that. He Googles it. Every interview.
Lauren, do you want to do some
No,
research?
no,
I already know.
No.
You should tell the listeners for
No.
those.
So
Okay.
even like in this book, we talk about the time that Logan found a bloody condom at one of his friend's house. So he came, but he's comfortable. Why are you looking at that? It wasn't mine.
I'm intrigued.
Wait, he's like, he found a bloody condom.
Right.
It wasn't our house, all right?
No, it was at his friend's
It was at
house.
his friend's house.
And he was like maybe 9 years old.
9 years old.
He was about 9 years old.
But he was comfortable enough to come
He was
home
in,
and
they
ask
were in
mom
the
about it.
basement, and the little boy had an older brother.
So what did you say?
Yeah.
Remember when Charlamagne gave Daddy the ass? That's how.
That's how the bloody condom happened. Oh my gosh! So that's when we had the sex talk, and Gia had to have the sex talks with Logan and Madison.
What kind of sex talk though? No, I'm serious.
It wasn't a backdoor
It's
sex
a
talk.
different era
That's
that
what
we
you
in, so it ain't just birds and bees. It's birds and wasps and birds. And, no, I'm serious.
Birds and
They got a full blown
Okay.
sex talk. They had to understand, because if you leave it
No
up,
backdoor sex talk. If that's what you. If
no,
Yeah, 'cause
no.
I'm really trying to figure out why was the condom bloody. I'm really.
It might have been
Because
someone's
somebody
thing.
ran a red light.
Or
Yeah.
What were you thinking, Charlamagne?
Yeah, like
Somebody just ripped somebody's butt open and just straight
2025.
just, you know what I'm saying?
2025. Just
Nah,
asking
somebody
questions.
ran a red light out.
It could also be like a first time thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, they at that point I found that they were old enough and mature enough, and they're encountering things. Now these conversations are being had amongst their peers, and I knew that if I didn't set them straight, that they were going to be absorbing all of this wrong information and wrong ideas. So I
they're
told
curious.
them, sex feels good. It's a pleasurable experience. God made us that way because God wants us to reproduce.
Right.
He wants us to create offspring. So he made it something that we would enjoy, but it's meant for someone that you love. And that's the reason why. So they're like, oh, okay. So what is it like?
Yeah.
And
What did you say?
okay, if I'm being honest, I told them that there is a penis and there is a vagina and it does slide in and out. And my son Logan was like, so like this?
Yeah. I'm trying to make sure you get it right.
I said, and then
Logan and Madison.
Logan and
Okay, you do it
Madison.
separately.
Yes,
Okay.
they're 11.
I walked out.
They're about 11 and
I don't want to be
9.
there because I laugh at
And
everything.
that he, I'll never forget. And since you asked, he was like, "So is it like?" It's like, yeah. I was like, "Yeah, something like that." I said, some people look at it as a negative thing.
Go to
Logo
EDO
was
concert.
playing.
to
He
say
already
that.
No, he really didn't. No, he really didn't. He really didn't.
8.
Even like my 11-year-old son right now, he does not know. He asked me 3 days ago, like, what does sexual mean? I said, it's not for you. It's not for you to understand right now. So when they ask me questions that I don't want them to know about, and he's older than Logan was, but now with, I have a better grip on his friends and a grip on what he's exposed to on his phone and whatnot, and parameters, boundaries. So I'm really abreast of what he knows and what he doesn't. And our lines of communication are
way better.
Way better. Like those kids, they come to me every day, and when they get home from school, either for a half an hour, depending on what activity they have afterwards, they have their turns. They sit at the foot of my bed, they lay down or they sit down, and they tell me about their entire day. They tell me the best part of their day, the worst part of their day, and one kind thing that they did for someone else that day. So that's just our routine. That's our ritual. And they tell me everything. And you would be shocked and appalled to know the things that they divulge, but it's because we create that safe space.
Yeah.
We create that soft place to land. We create a no judgment zone. You could tell me anything. It could be the world's worst. I will never, ever judge you. I will help you fix it. We'll extract all the lessons, everything that you need to learn from it, whether you were wrong, whether you weren't, whatever it is, like this is your safe space.
Yeah.
And they have that foundation, so they share. They share, and we take that time, like we share.
Yeah. You have 6 kids, so was there anything, because y'all have all age groups,
Yeah.
right? So is there anything that you felt like in the beginning y'all didn't know until y'all got to that 6th kid?
Of course.
Yeah. Like what were some of the
I'll give you an
things
example.
that you didn't know, you just was like, well, me and Rashawn winging this. Like
I'll give you an example. But to speak to what you said, like we wrote a book. That doesn't mean that we know everything. And it doesn't mean that it's not an evolution. It doesn't mean that we're still learning every single day. Like I said earlier, it's a sense of community where we share our experiences and the wins and the losses so that other people can understand they're not alone.
Yeah.
And it comes in all shades, all forms, all fashions, all financial groups. We all speak a universal language as parents. With Logan, so one of the fails, and this was something that we disagreed on. So it was the explaining everything to the kids. I have the patience to do it, and he really is a because I said so type of guy. And it worked beautifully with Madison. But with Logan, from a young age, I would explain everything to him. And he's a mama's boy.
Times 30.
Envy tells us. Oh,
He is that boy, like we have a thing, you know, and I have a different thing with all of my kids, but me and him have our thing. Like he calls me at all times of the day, all time. He will call me at 3:00 in the morning, like it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And she's like, yeah, what's up, Mom? What's going on? You good? Yeah, I'm good. I'm at the club. I'm about to FaceTime you. Lucas and Andrew are here. Take a look. And I'm like, what's up? Sleep is up, but okay. You know what I mean? Like we're very, very close. But it kind of went wrong with him because what we found was that we created an environment where he felt that he was entitled to an explanation. And he felt as though because we gave him too safe of a space that he could challenge me and he can challenge a decision that I made. And he's very intelligent.
Sounds like my
He's
little brother.
very, very intelligent. So Rashawn always says that I'm like a lawyer, right? He says it all the time. I know what it feels like because I have a Logan, and Logan lawyers me. Do you know what I mean?
They do it with each other all day long.
Yes,
All day long.
and in a lot of ways, I enjoy it because I feel like he really does challenge me.
Yeah.
And he's one of the only people that I feel like does that in my life. And I love to see the mental exercise. I love to see how his brain is moving and how he's getting around the things that I'm saying and things like that. So it's good at his adult age now because he's 21. But when he was a child, it wasn't acceptable because I'm going to explain because this is what I do. But now you're not understanding that that's a grace that I show you. It's not something that you're entitled to. This is a courtesy that I'm extending to you, but you're not entitled. So we had to dial that back.
Teach boundaries.
And then we had to teach boundaries and let him know his place because he started to misunderstand his place. So that was a fail in a sense. And Rashawn would always look at me like, see, I told you. Like, see, I told you
I'm
because
always the bad guy because now I got to go discipline that, right?
Yeah.
So now me and Logan get into it.
And now you can't beat Logan because Logan did it. So I get it.
So now I got to discipline Logan, and then me and Logan get into it. But one thing about Logan and all of our kids, which is the craziest thing, is they're very forgiving. Like with Logan, I have to get sometimes so disrespectful for him to understand. And the next day he's like, "Hey, Dad, what's up?" And I'm like, "Hey, Dad, what's up?" But that's how he is, and he just has conversations. But we have those conversations, and we understand and we talk. But he's the one that just like his mom.
Did you feel like a failure, Gia?
No, I didn't feel like a failure, but I knew that technique wasn't necessarily a fail, but it needed tweaking.
Gotcha.
So then we had our other 4, and there was a huge gap. There was about 9 years between Logan and London. So I wanted to maintain what I always believed in and how I was raised, but I wanted to implement some of because I told you so as well.
Gotcha.
Like, I am going to explain to you, but I'm going to let you know that it is because I'm showing you grace and it's because I respect you. So in turn, you have to respect me and you have to respect the decision, and we can talk about it as long as it's coming from a good place and I'm not sensing any attitude from you, any entitlement from you, or anything that I don't like to feel as we sit here and discuss it. So you got to make sure you keep it right.
Yeah.
And my kids get it. So this pack of 3, because Peyton's 3 years old, but my 11, my 10, and my 8, they get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I tell them if they're really curious, they might question. And then after I say it again, they're like, okay, absolutely, whatever it is. And so it's through that trial and error with Madison and Logan that we're able to take all the good stuff, you know, all the good stuff and pour it into this second batch of kids.
No, go ahead. I feel like I'm asking so much.
So no, it's okay. I got you. So in the beginning,
Tell us shut up, yo.
going back.
Like,
No, I'm
Yo,
not doing
shut
it.
That's where it started from.
All right?
See, that's where it started
Because
from.
now we,
I'm
yeah,
not doing
we
this.
might come over there with you
Oh, my
together. Don't
goodness.
play with us.
So no, again. So going back to something you said earlier, you were saying that the past 2 years was very traumatic, and not getting into that. How challenging was it writing this book? Like, was it ever moments where you and Rashawn, or just you, like broke down, like not like giving up, but it was challenging for you to get deep into any of the chapters or what you went through within the past 2 years?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. No pun intended, but I'm an open book. I'm not a private person. I've never been a very private person. And it's because I feel as though the value in life is truth.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's not pretty, you know, there's no value to anything if it's not honest,
Yeah.
if it's not true, if it's not transparent. If it's BS, it's worthless. You know, if you wrap everything in a pretty bow, it's worthless because who can relate to you?
Yeah.
Nobody. I can't relate to people that appear to be perfect or pretend to be perfect
That's right.
because I don't know you. I don't know anybody like you. You know what I mean? So anytime that I'm honest or I'm vulnerable about something, to me, it's like giving a little gift from myself. It's sharing something that I know other people wouldn't share because they'd be too embarrassed or it disrupts the image that they're trying to present. So that I don't respect. So it's very easy for me to tell my truth from where I genuinely come from. You know?
I love that y'all have a family mission statement.
Yes.
What is the mission statement? And tell people the importance of that.
Well, just so we know, we don't have it on our wall and then make the kids read it when they walk in the house. Like, it's not that type of mission statement. It's
I feel
not.
like
It's
they
not
would
like
do
that. So our mission statement is just something that we, you know, as a family, we all live by, right? And I'll read some of them. And the reason is we are a close unit, right? So if you see us together, we are all always out together. You see me the other day with Jackson. You see me before, and Charlamagne has seen me before. So the mission statement is we are a unit, right? We all ride together. Like, we are really a unit.
A unit.
I'm an only child, so I'm heavy into taking care of each other, right? We respect each other, of course. It's simple. We make sure that, you know, we respect each other's feeling. We always have each other's backs. That's one thing that we always do. And it's, you know, sometimes when we have conversations up here, I always talk about my kids. So when they see stuff on social media, at times I have to stop them because they will go in, especially Logan. Logan will go in. He's like that.
Oh, yeah.
We always uplift each other and point out the good in one another, right? So we see that more, especially with our girls in dance, because they compete against each other a lot.
Yeah.
So when they do, we have to make sure that regardless of what happens, like a couple of weeks ago, London lost, and we thought London got jerked. So I told, you know, I had a conversation with Brooklyn, and Brooklyn was like, "Dad, don't worry, I'm going to get first and second 4." and she went out there and busted ass and got first and second.
She got first place and second place.
Gave the first place to her sister because that's what it was. We represent each other at all times. That's how it always is. So we always tell our kids, if we're not there, you make sure that those parents come back and say, oh my gosh, he was such a pleasure. He was polite. He was this. Even with Jackson at the game, Jackson said thank you 1,000,001 times to you. He said hello 1,000,001 times to you because that's what he's taught to do, that you show respect.
Yeah.
1 second before you go on. With that, my goal for my kids is that when they leave our house, I want everyone that they come in contact with to know that they're well loved. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I want them to know that they're well loved. What we teach you inside this house, you exemplify outside of this house. And it's so interesting because, as parents, we have a goal, and these are goals that we vocalize to one another. So when we get calls from other parents, when our kids are on a play date, teachers, principals, both sets of kids went to a new school, and we got calls from the teachers, like, what are you guys doing in that house?
Wow.
What are you doing with these kids? Like, I've never seen this before. And all three of them are like this. It lets you know that you're doing something right. You're doing something meaningful. Those teachers know that they're well loved. And of course, other children are well loved. It's not that, but it's coming from a mental space that you understand. And like what we talked about earlier about articulating words and things. When you articulate something to a child and you do it in a way where they understand what it means and what their actions mean, because you can love your child to death. You could take a bullet for them. You work hard, you hustle, you do everything for your kids. You love your kids, but they could still go out and be a menace.
Right.
That's right.
Because the lessons may be lost. And these are things that a lot of parents don't put into perspective when raising children. Because what do we usually do? We take an idea and we throw it up against the wall and we see if it sticks or not. You know what I mean? Oh, that worked. Oh, that didn't. Okay. But a lot of people don't have something tangible that they can go back to and be like, this is a way to create a foundation. Right. This is a way to create a structure. And because we had so many ups and downs, we were able to do that and put it in one place.
And I think the biggest story, I know you hate when I tell a story, was Jackson, right? So we had a parent-teachers night a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
And a teacher came up to me. A teacher that I had no idea, didn't know who he was. He
it
came
was
up
a
to me.
STEM night.
A STEM night,
Yeah.
right? So he walks over to me. He was like, are you Jackson's dad? And I'm like, yeah. When a teacher usually asks that, it's usually some BS, right? So I'm like, oh, here we go. What did Jackson do? And he was like, I just want to tell you, Jackson did something that no child or adult has done in my life. I'm like, well, what's that? And he was like, the other day I'm walking down the hall and Jackson comes running up to me and he goes, are you okay? And the teacher was like, what do you mean? He was like, you just don't look as happy as you usually do. Are you all right? Is anything bothering you? Would you like to have a conversation with me and just talk it through?
He is his mother's child. He is
Psychiatrist.
And the teacher was like, what? He was like, nah, you just don't seem as happy as you do, but don't let things stress you out. Just pray on it, and tomorrow will be better, right? And if you need to talk to me, come talk to me. And he said, Jackson ran off. And he was like, I've never had an adult or a child ever do that to me. So he was like, whatever you're doing at home, continue that. And I mean, that just shows what the kids are learning at home is worth everything. You know what I mean? So
You need to report that teacher too. He don't need to be in the school system.
No, it ain't even that. It ain't even that. The next day, he probably was like, you got some time at the Christmas party? I am going through something. So what if Logan was the only person, London was the only person that saw him at
Jackson.
that point? Jackson was the only person
name a
that
city.
saw him.
his name is City.
So that was STEM night, but at the parent-teacher conference, one of the teachers said that if she could use one word to describe Jackson, it would be grateful. And she said, in 30 years of teaching, I've never used that word with a child before. And I said, well, what do you mean by grateful? She said, every day after every lesson, he comes up to me and says, thank you for teaching me today. And I said, really? And she said, where does he get that from? Like, I said, that's his own interpretation. But when he plays sports, after every game, I tell him to shake the referee's hand and
Look him in the eye, shake
look him
his
in the eye,
Go to the
a nice
coach.
strong handshake, and say thank you. And do the same thing with your coach, because these are people that give their time that don't have to give their time. And it's for you and for your benefit and your learning and your greatness. So you acknowledge that man or that woman and you say thank you. So I think that that's his interpretation, how he's doing it in another way. You know what I mean?
Y'all are such a beautiful
Yeah,
family,
y'all
man.
doing such a good job.
Thank you.
Thank
For real.
you.
And this man will crash out for any of y'all. Like,
I know.
yeah,
Yo,
girl,
SIBO.
yes.
Jess has seen me do it behind the scenes a bunch of times, and Jessica was like, "Yo, you crash out for your
Like,
family." I'm like,
really,
"You goddamn right."
No matter what.
What?
You know?
Tell me, I'm
And
interested.
Jess is crashing out.
Okay.
Crashing out.
Excuse me?
Huh? Nothing.
No, I don't. Now, shut up. Anyway, when is baby number 7
You are
coming?
so annoying.
The shop is closed.
Yeah, we not
Okay,
no
I
more
didn't
kids
know.
The
now.
ship has
I didn't
sailed.
know.
Well, the shop is not closed. But
Okay.
when you say closed, meaning snip, snip, we ain't snip,
Oh,
snip
no,
yet.
no, there's no snip.
But
I
no.
know how not to get pregnant.
Okay.
Oh, you don't want him to get a vasectomy?
Huh?
My wife wants me to get a vasectomy.
No, I don't want him to get a
Okay.
vasectomy.
Yeah, we're
no.
not having no more kids.
Why?
No.
Just in case you ever wanted. No.
No, I just don't think it's necessary. I know how not to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
say
now.
that again. Say that
No,
again.
but
The wives out there who want their husbands to get vasectomies.
I'm sorry.
Say that again for the wives who want their husbands to get vasectomies.
I don't know. Other women may have gotten pregnant unintentionally and have a different view, but me personally, I just, like people have asked me, like, do you want to get your tubes tied? I just like our natural bodies.
Yeah.
And I like them to function the way that they function. And if I can take a human precaution to prevent a particular result, then I'll do that. I don't think that for me, it's not necessary. I absolutely understand why people do both of those procedures. But for me, I just don't find it to be necessary. That's all.
Word.
You know?
Find my husband.
Oh, God. All
Hey,
right.
real life, real family.
Exactly. April 15th, it'll be out in bookstores everywhere you buy books, man. Gia, thank you for pulling up.
Thank you so much. You can pre-order on Amazon right now.
And for everybody else, we just want to add this last part. We actually wrote it with somebody that helped us out. That we want to talk about that helped us with terms and helped us with different phrases and helped us with made sure that we were actually doing the right thing when it came to raising our kids.
Yeah, so we wrote it alongside a psychologist because
dope.
yes,
That is dope.
because we wanted to make sure that our outlooks were on the level that I would want to put it out to the public. I wanted the psychological research and quarterbacking behind the way that we parent to pretty much put a stamp on it, to know that what we're doing, not just from our personal experience-driven point of view is sound, but from a psychological point of view is also sound. I wanted to make sure that alongside the truth and the transparency and the experience, that we had that backing to the book as well. I wanted that level of value in the book as well. So,
Yeah, that's right.
and also, if you have a child with anxiety, ADD, ADHD, other setbacks, other disabilities, we speak to you in this book as well, because those people are very, they don't have that many resources. This book is for anyone who is a parent, a single parent, a parent that is married,
A single woman maybe about to have kids in the next couple
someone
of years.
that wants to have a child.
I didn't look at you, Lauren.
Wow.
Nobody looked at you.
First of all, you did look over here.
I looked at you, sis.
Thank you.
It's forever. It's a very relatable book, and there's a lot of exercises in the book. We kind of also created it in like a workbook style. So there's a lot of reflections. There's a lot of places in there for you to answer questions, so you can kind of analyze yourself and understand your own point of view in a way of like articulation, where if you haven't really thought about certain things, it'll jog you to think about things. And even if you don't take our take, it encourages you and helps you to come up with your own takes on parenting. So
There you have it. April 15th, guys. Pre-order it now.
pre-order it
Real
now.
life, real family.
That's right.
It's the Casey crew. It's the Breakfast Club.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.